In the heart of the Cotswolds, just beyond the village of Little Rollright, there stands a collection of intriguing monoliths. Their origin shrouded in uncertainty for centuries, but in the vacuum of mystery, folklore and legend have taken root. Tales of ancient kings and vengeful witches capture the imagination here, but the true origin of the Rollright Stones may just eclipse anything conjured from fable. The legend of the Rollright Stones speaks of a proud and ambitious Iron Age king. This king, eager to extend his dominion over all of England, led his army through the rolling hills, his eyes fixed on the throne that he believed was his by right. As they marched, an eerie silence fell over the land. On the crest of Rollright Hill, the ominous silhouette of an old witch halted the men in their tracks. The witch, glaring down at the king and his men, issued an inviting utterance. 7 long strides thou shalt take, and if Long Compton thou canst see, King of England thou shalt be. The king, consumed with pride and the arrogance of his conquest, scoffed at the witch's cryptic proposition. He knew Long Compton lay just beyond the hill's crest, and without hesitation he strode forward, eager to claim the land for his own. From beneath his feet, the earth began to tremble. A great mound surged up in front of him, impossibly large, blocking his path. The witch's voice rang out. "Rise up, stick, and stand still, stone, for King of England thou shalt be none. Thou and thy men hoar stones shall be, and I myself an elden tree." And with that, in a flash of cruel magic, the king and his army were transformed as flesh turned to stone. The king where he stood, his men gathered in their circle, and finally his knights whispering conspiratorially from afar. A charming folktale, and one that's origins can be traced back to the writings of antiquarian William Camden in 1610. Though the archaeological origin of the stones may be even more enchanting, as Camden would go on to inquire. An origin that has been obscured in the haze of debate for centuries. Camden himself went on to explore the notion that the stones were battle markers laid by Rollo the Dane and his Vikings, due to their striking resemblance to Scandinavian monoliths. In 1649, writer and antiquarian John Aubrey suggested that they were of Druid origin, citing the religious and ceremonial nature of these pre-Roman communities. Theories that persisted, though modern archaeology has dispelled these concepts. And while the true origins of the stones aren't and probably never will be fully understood, we have a much better idea, and they're much older than we thought. Though all in very close proximity to one another, the stone monuments range in age, erected over 2 millennia of Neolithic and Bronze Age settlement, all with a part to play in the legend that shrouds the Rollright Stones. The Whispering Knights, named due to their appearance as they seem to lean inwards, conspiring behind the back of the king. The oldest of the stones by approximately 1,000 years, it's estimated that the knights date back to around 3,800 BC, and is considered one of the earliest funerary monuments in Britain. As we find it today, the capstone that would have sat on top has fallen. There would have been 2 or 3 more stones to support the structure. It certainly would have been quite the grand burial monument for the time, reserved for some very influential members of the community. Moving west up the hill, we approach the King's Men's Stone Circle. Thought to have originally comprised of around 100 stones that would have stood shoulder to shoulder, though through the years stones were removed for construction in the local villages. The stones that remain, described by William Stukeley as being corroded like worm-eaten wood by the harsh jaws of time. Constructed around 2500 BC, the layout of the stones bears the characteristics of ceremonial henges found across the British Isles. The most recent of the monuments, erected around 1500 BC, it's thought that the King's Stone on the crest of the fabled False Horizon is most likely a burial memorial for sacks and barrows excavated in the area, and may have been used as a meeting place for the surrounding entombments. Though erosion has certainly taken its toll, the striking shape of the stone can be attributed to destructive Victorian habits, as it was commonplace for visitors to chip pieces off of the legendary stone, crafting necklaces and other souvenirs. In an effort to protect the stones, Thankfully, they were amongst the first to be placed under the protection of the Ancient Monuments Act in 1883, preserved to remain part of the landscape here for generations to come. As the old witch had shielded these hills from the king's ambition, so too are they preserved to stand guardians of memory, catalysts of imagination and storytelling for generations more.